Greetings, travelers. Welcome to Lorespire. Today, we're starting a new series in which we try to present all of the known details of the Wayward realms. I've combed through their announcements, the document files that they have released, and taken notes on conversation I and others have had with the devs in Discord to obtain this information. It is the most complete information I can find for planned details at this time. It is very early, so some of this information is, of course, subject to change. Anyways, today we cover the 8 playable races of the Wayward Realms. Humans, orcs, dwarfs, elves, Cambion, fae, goblins, and ogres in all their glory. But first, I want you to know that Once Lost Games intends to have all of the races look and feel different. They do not want to just plop a different head on the same body or change the skin color. They want them to have their own unique cultures, aesthetics, mechanics, and attributes. At this time, we do not know what all of these will be, but I will share with you the information I have found. Humans. Just like in our own world, there are many ethnicities of humans with numerous cultures and civilizations. Unlike in some other games, different ethnicities of humans will not have different stats or abilities. Humans are known for their unwaning willpower, though some simply call that sheer stubbornness. Humans originated from the nearby continent of Lavinium and around 1,000 years ago began invading the archipelago. This war drove the orcs north to the cold mountainous lands of Sid. Under the rule of King Basilius IV and the 13 noble house factions, humans now rule the vast forests and open plains of Splendor. Humans are planned to have an attribute bonus to willpower. The Orcs. Thanks to Once Lost Games' Orktober announcement event, there's more information on the orcs than I could find for any of the other races. Hopefully we gain as many details for the other races before too much more time passes. As the natives of the archipelago, orcs have resided on the islands for longer than any other race. And they have developed many rich, unique cultures that are founded largely on the concepts of endurance and self-reliance. The chieftains of the clans are the ruling class, but no decisions are made without a wise woman close at hand. Orcs reach a height of 6 to 7 feet and weigh in at an average of 250 to 300 pounds. They have green to grayish-green skin and lower tusks that protrude over their upper lips. Orcs, as a whole, are the toughest race in the world, known for their great feats of endurance. It is this penchant to endure that has allowed them to carve out a life in the somewhat inhospitable lands of Sid. Living in a clan social structure, the ruling class tends to consist of large families where the women carry on the clan name and the men marry into it. Their marriages usually involve all the brothers of one family marrying all of the sisters of another and then living together in the same household. All children are raised by the entire family, not just the specific child's parents. These clans practice ultimogeniture, which is where the youngest child inherits any titles or positions of power. The youngest female orc becomes the clan's wise woman, who decides most of the day-to-day affairs as well as ceremonial or spiritual duties, while the youngest son becomes the clan's chieftain, who presides over judicial matters and leads the clan's armies. The hardships that the orcs have endured have led them to become innovative and masterful craftsmen. They are experts in using materials sourced from their surroundings. Animal hides are skillfully tanned and transformed into clothing, such as capes, skirts, boots, and gauntlets. While the bones and horns are intricately carved and used to adorn clothing, weaponry, and jewelry. Nobility and peasantry alike dress in vivid hues, colored by natural dyes derived from native plants. These dyes are often used to adorn their skin and face for vanity, ceremony, and war. Still, there are some orcs that have actually embraced the Splendorian clothing styles of humans. Orcs, both men and women, are also known to go bare-chested, with their tattoos on display. And so it is that the orc clans have built a strong understanding and connection with the land, valuing its resources and respecting the surrounding plant and animal life. Sid is the kingdom of the orcs and makes up the northern half of the archipelago. It is notable for its cold mists, mountainous terrain, and rocky coastlines. Though primarily orcish, the other races do inhabit small pockets within its borders. Here's a quick story to give a bit of insight into orcish culture. With an empty chair reserved for the goddess Nikti, the wise women of an orc clan discuss the fate of their kinsmen. The stench of strong drinks and pipe smoke mingle with the scent of incense rising from the smoldering embers of their fire pit. Nearby, a set of Lothar chimes swing slowly back and forth. Their bell-like tinkle will notify the women of the presence of any supernatural beings. Whether it be a goddess, a spirit, or even a malice, they may have some wisdom to bestow. At the doorway, a guard clad in traditional orc armor stands watch, ensuring this meeting will not be interrupted, neither by friend nor foe. He does not understand the business they discuss, nor is it his place to understand. His role is that of protector, of warrior, while the wise women are the gatekeepers of life and death. Today, they discuss war, a serious issue that they will not rush into hastily like those bloodthirsty humans in the south. Though the chieftain will plan their strategy and lead the troops, it is they who must decide to fight. It is they who will sound the drum of war. It is they who hold the lives of their kinsmen in their hands. Outside, a storm rolls its way overhead, heralded by a flash of lightning and a crash of thunder. The chimes begin to rattle. Orcs are planned to have an attribute bonus to endurance and to have long arms, giving them additional reach with melee weapons. Dwarfs. Dwarfs hail from a land of bitter cold far beyond the archipelago to the northeast called Nilheim. Dwarfs are excellent craftsmen, sailors, and merchants, controlling most of the crafting and trading guilds around the archipelago and the world beyond. The dwarfs you will see in the archipelago are mostly sailors and merchants and reside with the rest of the races in their cities. It is said that the dwarfs back in their homeland still reside in mountain halls, but dwarfs don't speak of Nilheim very often, as it is considered bad luck. Much like the other races of the archipelago, the dwarfs worship all of the goddesses, but dwarfs largely place much higher value and practicality in coin. Dwarfs have a number of traditions regarding their dead. The most common, given the time they spend at sea, is to return the dwarf's corpse to the cold, hungry waters amidst a fleet of flickering lights. This refers to candles set upon a small, saucer-sized raft. People will buy a candle and a candle boat to pay their respects to the departed. This includes their family, their guild or crew, and any friends they have. Other dwarfs, particularly the rich, have actual tombs built for them, complete with several statues. Dwarfen women can be seen in a variety of roles throughout the archipelago, including warriors, sailors, merchants, and even the occasional mage. Like most dwarfs, they prefer light-colored fancy fabrics for their clothing, the hems of which usually notate their lineage. And FYI, female dwarfs do not have beards. Some dwarfen women have a special role aboard ships, colloquially known as a sea witch. They will guide the watercraft, ensuring that it reaches safety. They warn the crew of ill omens and bad weather, and some say they can even manipulate the wind and waves. Dwarfen judiciary duels are steeped in the ancient traditions of their kind, back when they were raiders and pillagers in their frigid homeland of Nilheim. Each combatant is armed with a simple, broad-bladed sword and a round wooden shield held in the center, reinforced with a boss over the grip. No other arms or armors are allowed. Dwarfs are planned to have an attribute bonus to dexterity. Elves. With long and slender features, elves look otherworldly amongst the other races. Their exotic nature is further amplified by the fact that elves are always born as twins, one dark, one light. Because of this, they usually gravitate towards environments that better fit their personas, with light elves living amongst the trees, and dark elves living within cliffside dwellings. It's important to note that this stems from the dualism of their mysterious twin births, and not as any kind of segregation. And there are exceptions where both twins stay with their mother as opposed to going to live with their aunts or uncles, as is the usual case. There may also be a third type of elf, the Grey Elf. The common folk of Splendor tell tales of a rare elvish birth, that of triplets, with the third child being born a Grey Elf. They say Grey Elves have supernatural abilities of perception, and that they are greatly celebrated and protected in Iridan. Yet these elves are cursed with frail, sickly bodies, and though they are kept safe and highly attended to, it is not long before their short, agonizing lives come to an end. Elves are planned to have an attribute bonus to perception. Cambion, a mysterious red-skinned race with demonic features. They are only born to non-Cambion parents, seemingly at random. They can also appear vastly different. While one Cambion might have normal human-like feet and goat-like horns, another might have bird-like talons and no horns at all. Due to the nature of their birth, most other races consider the Cambion abominations, and the children are commonly abandoned at birth. Adult Cambions are commonly assumed by others to be untrustworthy. Cambions are planned to receive a bonus to intelligence, and those who have taloned feet are planned to be able to climb surfaces that other characters simply cannot. The Fae. Similar to Cambion, Fae are born to any parent regardless of their race. Their looks, however, are far from demonic. Fae have chiseled features, pale, muscular bodies resembling marble statues, eyes the color of precious stones, and peculiar linear birthmarks. Their radiant beauty makes them exceptionally charming, but this only helps sow a similar distrust to Cambions, with people afraid that the Fae are using some dark magic to enthrall them. The term silver-tongued has sprung up around not only their charismatic nature, but their literal silver-hued tongues. As with Cambions, Fae may also be abandoned as children and are untrusted as adults. Fae are planned to receive an attribute bonus to charisma. Goblins. Generally considered chaotic, goblins are a race that largely control the underworlds of the archipelago. Their motivations vary from a general disdain for authority and nobility to the desire to help the peasantry and other underprivileged groups. Though goblins are incapable of growing facial hair, they do find it appealing, so they fashion fake beards from horsehair decorated with beads and rings and ribbons, and attach them with piercings. Goblins can be found everywhere, but their settlements are mainly concentrated in the wastelands of Mrothweir. While most goblin settlements in the wastelands of Mrothweir are shantytowns, a few of the larger settlements are made of stone and mudwork. These are key stops for the trade caravan network that stretches across the wastes, bringing rare Morothi goods to the rest of Splendor. Goblins are planned to have an attribute bonus to speed, and if the devs can get the modeling to work right, they are planned to be able to move about on all four limbs. And now for my favorite race, the Ogres. Literally standing head and shoulders above humans, Ogres are the tallest playable race in the archipelago. Known for their immense size and the strength that accompanies it, Ogres make for excellent adventurers. In fact, it is in their nature to leave home once reaching adulthood and travel the world seeking to gain as much knowledge as they can before returning home and settling down a couple of decades later. Ogres sometimes fall victim to a disease that turns their flesh to stone and destroys their mind, turning them violently feral. To keep these rampaging ogres from giving ogrekin a bad reputation, a faction of ogres known as the Keepers of the Beasts are dedicated to hunting them down and ending their misery. Here's a quick story for a bit of ogre insight. In ancient days, when the Great Hajar drove his conquering armies westward, the ogres in the mountainous region of Cathay struck a deal with the Horse Lord in exchange for his mercy. With their aid, the Great Hajar's army was able to crush the Mummy King and take the Desert Kingdom for himself. For their hand in it, the ogres were well rewarded. In this new land of strange gods and eccentric cultures, the Hajar came to rely on his ogre advisors to guide his decisions, going as far as appointing them as governors and statesmen in the region to rule on his behalf. Ever thirsty for knowledge, the ogres managed to salvage what remained of Kithite knowledge and built a grand library to house it, luring in scholars from all corners of the empire. Now 1,000 years after the collapse of the Hajar's empire, the library still stands as a beacon of learning and enlightenment. Ogres who have now spread out through most of the known world often make pilgrimages to the ancient Athenaeum, where a wealth of history, math, and science is at their fingertips. As it is said, an ogre is truly happy when they have a good book to read. Ogres are planned to have an attribute bonus to strength. And be sure to subscribe for more Wayward Realms content. This has been Chris with Lorespire. Be well, my friends.